Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
I'm Justin Saunders, and this is Sunday Journal. I'm here in the studio with Beth Wade, Rick Brigham, and Deb Carr, the new leadership team at Champ Homes in Hyannis. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Now, many of our listeners may not be familiar with Champ Homes, even though it's been a nonprofit on the Cape for almost 25 years. Can you guys give us a little bit of an overview of what Champ Homes is? Beth, since you're the new executive director.
Sure. Champ Homes is a faith-based organization here in Hyannis who offers affordable and supportive housing to those who otherwise would be homeless.
Now, Beth, since you started out as volunteering for Champ Homes way back in 2001, how did you first hear about the organization and how did you decide to get involved?
That's a very interesting story. I did not know about Champ Homes until sometime in June of 2001. And it actually was through a personal letter from Paul Hebert following the death of my son. My son Jamie had died in May of 2001, and he had been involved in drugs and sadly committed suicide. And following that, there was an article in the Cape Cod Times. We as a family had reached out to the community to draw people's attention to the use of ecstasy and some of the devastating consequences of drug use in our community. And Paul, seeing that article, reached back to me. And the day the letter arrived in the mail was very significant for me because part of coming through it as a family, we had decided, as I said, to reach out and tell the story. And I felt that there was a greater purpose to Jamie's death, or there was a way we could pull greater purpose out of that. And so the day it arrived, I looked at the envelope, and in the corner it said, at that point it was just one Champ House, and it said Champ House, 82 School Street, Hyannis, Mass. And the first thought I had was, this is grace arriving in the mail. And there was a wonderful letter, and Paul invited me and my family to come to the campus. Well, again, it was just one home at that time, to come to 82 School Street and see what they were doing. And as part of that, they were hoping to purchase the property across the street. And ultimately, the family engaged in that process and did some fundraising. And ultimately, the Jamie Reddy House came about as part of the Champ Homes campus.
Wow, that's an amazing story. So this question, I guess it can go to you, Beth, or any one of you guys here. Champ Homes has always been so closely linked to founders Paul and Carolyn Hebert. What's the story of how the organization started?
If I may, I've been working in service to folks who are homeless for many years in the community, and so I've been aware of the Heberts for much of that time. And I think what has most impressed me with the Heberts, and I think is part of really a remarkable reputation that they have in the community, is their purity of heart. And I can't tell their stories in terms of how it started. I've heard them, but they would be much better at those details, and I think those details should be heard again and celebrated. But for me, it's to see it coming from that purity of heart that I can recall sort of whispers of their recognizing people on the street, and they could not function without taking some action. And what is remarkable to me is what they have created is truly what I see from my experience is the solution, the community solution to homelessness, and they have provided affordable housing and the supportive environment that we can talk more about. But it was just what I saw was they stepped in that purity of heart and innocence of intent, really, to create homes for literally, I believe, thousands of people now. And it's a great privilege for me to be stepping into this organization at this time with Beth, with Debbie, and as Paul has said too, he has encouraged us to stand on his shoulders, and I believe that's what's happening.
Now, Rick, also, you're going to be serving as the program developer and co-director of Pilot House. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about Pilot House and also what you're going to be doing.
To speak a little bit more generally about Champ Homes for a moment is, as I say, to see it as a community solution to homelessness. And that in my experience working in around folks who are homeless for many years, is I've seen this very small population that I identify with the acrostic BETS, B-E-T-S, behaviorally excluding themselves from services. That's really a very small population, but it's very often the population that with which much of the community identifies homelessness or those who are homeless. And what I see at Champ Homes is that it's a model that works for the other 80 or 90% of people that have just fallen on hard times and have some situational challenges that end up combining to result in homelessness. So to see that, to be coming into this model of 24-hour supported housing has been very exciting for me to really see a solution to homelessness and to have above all that roof that is put over each person, that they have 24-hour housing, that they know they're going to be warm, they know they have a place to go, a place to sleep. And that becomes, and I've said this in the past, that it's like the first prescription for the solution. Because from that, there's so many other things that can be accomplished, and I see them being accomplished in Champ Homes. That while we're in that community, we're able to observe the folks and reflect where the fissures may be in their lives. That I was saying to Debbie earlier, is that's the opportunity that we can step in and help them see the fork and make a different choice and actually begin to correct some situations for themselves. In particular with Pilot House, it's a recovery community. It's for men, although we'd like to be able to have houses like this for women as well. But it's for men who are coming out of addiction. And they can literally be coming off the street and sometimes do or come out of the shelter. And that it's a supportive environment. They're expected to contribute. They pay an amount to the fee, so they're already invested to a level. And then we have a framework of expectations in terms of healthcare, therapy, attending meetings, and we also work on what we call stabilities, improving just their tools of recovery, their occupational tools, relationship tools. It's a great environment to begin to, in the community relationship, begin to give them new tools in order to go forward. So it's been great to be co-director of the Pilot House, to be able to have come into this program and begin to implement some things that I've long thought would work and to see them succeeding. And at this time, as the transition is happening, to begin to look at how some of those same perspectives can be brought to the broader organization, to really invest in encouraging the people to increase their capacity to their best, not being authorities, but being sort of accountability partners as they kind of rebuild and structure their lives. So it's a great opportunity, and I declare it is a community solution to homelessness. It's great.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Justin Saunders, and this is Sunday Journal. I'm talking to the new leadership team at Champ Homes. Deborah, let's bring you into the conversation a little bit. You'll be the program director of Champ Homes. What will that involve, and also what's your background with this kind of work?
I just wanted to go back a moment. You had asked about the history, a little bit of the Heberts. I wanted to just answer briefly on that. Originally, Paul and Carolyn were taking people into their very modest two-bedroom home. They lived with their three daughters, bringing them up, and that blossomed into them moving over to 14 Main Street. And unfortunately, there was a fire, and with the generosity of a donor, they were able to move over to 82 School Street, and it's expanded from there. So my role as the program director, I have the honor of working with the population and helping people who would otherwise be homeless remain housed. And we are also available to coach as far as tools for helping to get into school, work, and help to have them become more independent and live more independently in the future.
Now that you guys are also a new leadership team, do you guys have any plans for any changes in direction of the organization?
It's a good question. I think part of the reason I'm here as part of the team is I bring some business background to it. And with the big expansion in the last couple of years, there's a need to provide some additional framework in that direction. So I think that primarily we'll focus on what we're doing and doing really well, which is the work at Pilot House and CHAMP, and also with our Redemption Center, which is another component. It's a work environment and a social entrepreneurial opportunity for CHAMPs to provide some income for the folks that are with us. So we're looking at that and fine-tuning all of that. And it's just really a process. Last year, I had the opportunity really to have a process of observation, and this year it is moving into the transition. So we're going to focus on that. And then absolutely after that, I think we will, as Rick mentioned, there would be a nice opportunity potentially to expand the Pilot House model into a home for women who are coming out of recovery. So that could be part of the strategic plan in the future.
Now, Beth, you had actually touched on generating income for Champ Homes. I know that you guys have also gotten heavily into recycling as an innovative way of generating that income. Can you tell us a little bit about that program itself and how you plan to continue it?
Well, right now, the Heberts have retired in some ways, and in other ways, as a grandparent would, they are staying connected to the organization. So Paul Hebert is actually continuing under the title of Sustainability Manager, and his primary focus is on the Redemption Center. That has been something that he has wanted to move forward. So he's continuing that at this time, and it's at on Forest Road in South Yarmouth, and it is where people do literally bring bottles and cans to be redeemed. And it's a model where there's an opportunity to donate the cans, which provide income that way, and also through redemption, where we turn them into the state and get the money back. So it's one stream. It's a relatively small stream of income at this point, but hopefully the potential is there to build it in the future.
Now, how many clients do you guys have and have now at the present time, and also how many homes?
There's 6 homes, and then we have a single cottage as well here in Hyannis. And we house, at this time, around 65 people. It fluctuates. We can accommodate a few more. It depends on who's in the community and the setup of the rooms, but generally around 65 people.
And what's the typical age of your clients?
Our clients range in age from as young as 17 right at the moment to 68, I believe.
And do you guys also help them find jobs as well, too?
Yes, we do. We act as coaches to find out, what their interests are and help them to access resources in the community, such as job opportunities, mass rehab, and get them plugged in with those organizations.
Now, the housing, is it more transitional housing, or is it more or less permanent housing?
It's both. Originally, I think Paul and Carolyn envisioned it being more transitional, but as things have changed and housing has become more and more difficult to find, it has become, for some folks, what appears to be a more permanent option. It also is an option that some people do very well in a community living situation, and there's not very many of those opportunities here on the Cape. So, they thrive with the support of a community. And there are, sort of even a boarding house model where there's a single occupancy room, but then there's the main kitchen and the main living room, which is how Champ Homes is set up.
Well, if I may, one of the things we see at Pilot House, and it's really, I think, a philosophical base, which is another, I just so appreciate so many of the innovations that are possible at Champ Homes that have worked and are continuing to work. With Pilot House, what we see is that there are those men at Pilot House that the community is working working for them. So rather than having an arbitrary end time that it's time to move on to something else, we'll let them transition into remaining within Pilot House. And we're looking currently at the fee structure so that ultimately they will be paying their own way. But if it's helpful for them to remain in the community for as long as they're comfortable, we would rather allow that rather than what I've observed in the past is sometimes there's programs that have a time limit and someone can be succeeding very well, but then it's time to move on and then things fall apart. So we're sort of optionally permanent for those for whom it works and transitional for those who need that.
Now, we only have a few more minutes left. I just kind of want to go around the table here. Any last messages that you'd like to get out to our listeners about Champ Homes? Beth, Rick, or Deb?
Well, I want to offer an opportunity to the general community to come visit us at 82 School Street. I'm absolutely thrilled to give tours and to share on a personal level with people. And there's also many opportunities to volunteer and help with some of our fundraising, for example. And I would love everyone to go to champhomes.org to take a look at the website, and they'll get a little bit more information there. But again, please do feel free to call, and I'd be happy to show you around.
And I would like to add, and maybe a little bit more specifically on one level, is that we do need private funds in order to do what we do. That the housing is affordable because we're looking for private donations to help us keep it affordable. We're looking in as many ways as possible for the people who are part of the community to be sustaining it themselves, but it just isn't possible for everyone. And especially, for example, at Pilot House, when the guys are first coming in, it's very limited resources. Those grow, and they can begin to do more and more on their own. But we're looking for, as well, partners who will join with us in order to provide what is relatively short dollars to create a situation of great life change for people. So we would invite people to explore that as well.
Yes, I would echo Beth's sentiments and would welcome any people to come in and visit, and we would be happy to talk about ways that they could help in the future.
Perfect. Well, unfortunately, I'd love to talk more about this, but we're out of time. I've been talking to Beth Wade, Rick Brigham, and Deb Carr, the new leadership team at Champ Homes. Thank you guys again for coming and being with us here today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you.
Well, I'm Justin Saunders, and this is Sunday Journal.
This podcast is a presentation of Cape Cod Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit us at capecodbroadcasting.com.